One of the worst plane crashes in the United States in almost 15 years, leaving more than 60 people dead. What we know and what the president thinks might have played a role.
Just some leftover clouds after morning storms and downpours move through. We'll track a big warm-up and our first 80s of the year in first warning weather.
And another round of confirmation hearings at the Capitol today. What RFK Jr. and the nominee to lead the FBI had to say to the Senate. We start with a live look now out at near the nation's capital, where recovery efforts continue in the Potomac River at this hour after last night's deadly mid-air collision between an Army Black Hawk helicopter and an American Airlines regional jet. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jennifer Sanders.
I'm Daniel Marin. Officials now say all 3 soldiers in the chopper and all 64 passengers and crew on the jet are dead. Among them, promising young U.S. figure skaters. NBC's Jay Gray has our update.
Teams continue to search the bitter cold waters of the Potomac. Their mission now shifting from rescue to recovery.
At this point, we don't believe there are any survivors from this accident.
A horrific midair collision.
Crash. This is Alert 3.
An American Airlines regional jet on final approach to Reagan National Airport with 60 passengers and 4 crew members, and an Army Black Hawk chopper. 3 soldiers on board during what's described as a routine training flight, both aircraft exploding into a fireball at impact.
We will look at the aircraft, we will look at the helicopter, we will look at the environment in which they were operating in.
Investigators stress finding a cause is going to take some time. They'll analyze black box flight data recorders and cockpit voice recordings, as well as air traffic control communications, and eventually literally piece together the wreckage.
That we are going to leave no stone unturned in this investigation.
As that work continues, so does the difficult task of finding the victims. Dozens have been pulled from the crash site, crews promising to continue until all 67 who died are found. A group that includes several young figure skaters and their coaches.
It's a close, tight bond, and I think for all of us, we have lost family.
Overwhelming loss that so many families are dealing with right now. Jay Gray, NBC News, National Airport.
An FAA report obtained by the Associated Press says staffing in the air traffic control tower was, quote, not normal when this happened. The report says one air traffic controller was working 2 positions at the time of that crash.
And as the investigation ramps up, NBC's Susan McGinnis reports President Trump laid out his own theories on what could have caused the collision, and he cast early blame.
This was a dark and excruciating night in our nation's capital.
The Pentagon, the NTSB, the U.S. Army, and others now gathering evidence, interviewing witnesses, and seeking answers.
No excuses. We're going to get to the bottom of this.
President Trump, without evidence, casting blame on air traffic controllers, the Black Hawk pilot, and taking aim at diversity policies of previous administrations.
What evidence have you seen to support these claims?
It just could have been. We have a high standard. We've had a much higher standard than anybody else.
Another target, former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg.
He's a disaster.
Buttigieg calling the president's comments despicable. The current Transportation Secretary promising changes to keep such disasters from happening again.
After the FAA studies what happened, we will take appropriate action if necessary to modify flight paths and permissions.
If we have the safest flying anywhere in the world, then we'll keep it that way.
The president reassuring Americans it is safe to fly.
Susan McGinnis, NBC News.
The last major deadly commercial airplane crash in the U.S. was in 2009 when a plane crashed into a house near Buffalo, New York, killing 49 people on the plane and 1 person on the ground. Before that, a plane crash in 2006 in Lexington, Kentucky, killed 49 people.
First warning weather with Chief Meteorologist Nick Bannon.
If you were up anytime this morning, you encountered this widespread rain moving through Central Texas, some of it rather heavy. We even had some localized tree damage that came along with some gusty winds. Just one severe thunderstorm that moved into Milam County, but the winds certainly caused some problems in other areas too. But yet beneficial rain, more than 2.5 inches, fell directly into Lake Buchanan there at Cedar Point. Lomita had a little over 2 inches of rain, and you could see much of the hill country that feeds right into Lake Travis and Lake Buchanan got more than an inch. We had more than an inch of rain in much of the metro, too, a little under an inch at Camp Mabry, barely under, and a little under 3/4 of an inch at the airport, much less in our eastern counties where some places did not quite hit the half-inch mark. We've got full rainfall totals at KXAN.com. Right now, a lot of middle and high-level clouds streaming in from southwest to northeast right into Central Texas, and this is how it looks outside now from our West Shore home camera on top of our building looking toward downtown. These clouds will slowly be pulling away here tonight. But still, even with the clouds, the temperatures are pleasant and nice, I'd say, mid to upper 60s across most of the area, although we will find cooler air by tomorrow morning. 64 at 7, 60 at 9, and we start to clear out by late evening, dropping into the 50s here at 11. Coming up in First Warning Weather, we'll track the clearing, giving way to cool nights yet warm days, as well as the return of humidity next week.
All right, Nick, thank you so much. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. answered questions again today about his views on vaccines as confirmation hearings continue for the Department of Health and Human Services Secretary nominee. Kennedy pushed back against reports he is anti-vaccine, again denying it and saying he's simply asking for awareness and investigation. The 3-hour hearing ended with a key Republican joining Democrats to voice concerns about his nomination.
Well, meanwhile, the confirmation hearing for Kash Patel, President Trump's nominee to lead the FBI, also took place today in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. The contentious hearing focused on Patel's credentials and also claims that he has made about the agency he's being tapped to lead. Members of the panel's Democratic minority, led by Senator Dick Durbin, asked the 44-year-old nominee about his accusation that the FBI is filled with members of a, quote, deep state trying to block Trump policies. Patel told lawmakers he would remain focused on the FBI's core mission. Well, President Trump has signed an agreement with Meta to settle a lawsuit he filed against the company and its CEO for suspending his account after the deadly January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Meta is the parent company of Instagram and Facebook. According to a spokesperson, the settlement terms are $25 million, with $22 million going toward Trump's future presidential library and the rest for legal fees and other plaintiffs in the case. The settlement does not require Meta to admit any wrongdoing.
The Manor Independent School District says it's officially met the requirements to remove district and Board of Trustees monitoring by the Texas Education Agency, or the TEA. It's the end of a multi-year journey that began 6 years ago when the TEA placed the district under monitoring due to, quote, areas needing improvement. The district says since that began, they made significant strides when it came to focusing on student outcomes.
Well, there's new possible danger in Southern California as Los Angeles County closed down miles of beach. Officials say it's because of the rain. While it's been good for putting out the fires, they warn the ash could be creating a toxic runoff leading to the ocean. The health department there is warning the area could be contaminated with not only this runoff, but dangerous debris.
We had our first flush directly after a large fire in the Palisades area. So there's additional new contaminants in the water, including things like phosphate, heavy metals.
And officials say testing the water to make sure it's safe could take weeks.
A swap today freed 110 Palestinian prisoners in exchange for 3 Israeli hostages and 5 Thai workers held captive in Gaza.
This marks the 3rd round of exchanges as a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas entered its 2nd week. NBC's Danielle Hamamdjian reports from Tel Aviv.
Well, 3 more hostages are now back in Israel, along with 5 Thai workers who'd been held there since October 7th. Among those released today was the last Israeli female soldier, 20-year-old Agam Berger, along with one of the oldest hostages, 80-year-old Gadi Moses. Unlike the previous exchanges, this one, at least in one of the handover spots, was a lot more chaotic. And the fact that both Hamas and Islamic Jihad released the hostages in more than one location would possibly suggest that they're trying to send a message to Israel that they are very much still in control, still very much active all across the Gaza Strip. Now, in Khan Yunis, 29-year-old Arbel Yahoud was handed over to the Red Cross, surrounded by very large crowds, at times looking quite fearful. The scenes were described by the Israeli Prime Minister as shocking, and as a result, he delayed by several hours the release of 110 Palestinian prisoners. Among the men who were released on the Israeli side were some who'd been behind bars for decades for killing Israelis. Others, 30 or so teenagers, the youngest 15, who'd been detained without being charged or tried in what's known as administrative detention. Others, 21 to be specific, are going to be deported. They were serving life sentences and will now have to live in a third country.
First warning weather with Chief Meteorologist Nick Bannon.
Let's take you to the Covert Bee Cave Auto Mall camera there in Bee Cave, where we've got a lot of clouds. These are not low-level clouds like we had plenty of yesterday and the day before. These are mid-level and high-level clouds streaming in from the southwestern sky, and these will be fading away slowly as we head through the next few hours and overnight. There go the storms and downpours that came through earlier on this morning. They came with a cold front that knocked our temperatures down initially from the upper 60s into the 50s, but then we recovered thanks to a bit of sunshine here this afternoon. Those storms will continue to pull away. The upper level low associated with it is to the north of us now. That will also pull away, taking the clouds that we've got now with it, and we do expect a slow clearing trend here tonight. This may be a touch too fast, but in general, mostly clear skies develop overnight, and that sets us up for a kind of chilly morning tomorrow with widespread 40s. Still, you're not going to find much in the way of clouds tomorrow and through the weekend. We're thinking a completely clear sky here for your Friday. Your Friday night plans are dry and clear, and your Saturday, sunshine throughout. And by the way, we think that continues into Sunday as well. Lots of nice weather to come after some beneficial rain earlier today. So gradual clearing tonight, cool and dry, 48, nothing unusually cold though, although there are going to be some low 40s in parts of the hill country. Maybe one or two neighborhoods dip into the upper 30s, but nowhere near a freeze here tonight. And then you can see where the temperatures go as we head through the day tomorrow. Remember, sunny all day. 52 by 9. We're up to 63 by midday and then heading for a high of 70 in the afternoon, which is 6 degrees above normal for this time of year. So sunshine here tomorrow. Great weather for wherever you are in Central Texas. Maybe you're heading to our area wineries. Saturday, sunny and 74 and 78 with sunshine on Sunday. The temperatures keep going up, though, even after the weekend. Could be our first 80-degree day coming Monday. Now, this is technically 3 days later than average, but who's counting? And then temperatures drop a little bit more here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Now, what we're also going to notice, and you probably felt a little bit of it yesterday, is the humidity in the air. You're not going to notice it the next few days, but you are going to start noticing it Monday and especially Tuesday of next week. Once that dew point crosses the 60-degree mark, it starts to feel muggy, and that's where we go here as we get into Tuesday of next week and beyond. So what that's going to mean is that these sunny to mostly sunny days through Monday will be replaced by more clouds around Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That'll especially be evident in the mornings, where we start with clouds, some areas of fog, and even drizzle Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And it's the drizzle that's showing up as that 10% chance of measurable rain, but nothing significant as far as rain goes there Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Beyond our 7-day forecast, the 8 to 10-day rainfall outlook, make that the 8 to 14-day rainfall outlook that takes us almost to Valentine's Day, shows wetter than normal, but also warmer than normal.
I'll anchor nightly news from Washington tonight, where National Airport has been reopened following that horrifying mid-air collision. We'll get the latest from the NTSB. Also, we'll tell you what we've learned about victims when we see you on NBC Nightly News.
Dilapidated and dangerous, or historic and important. Two sides are divided on how to handle a small San Marcos dam that's been around since the 19th century.
And after a tragedy late last year, the conversation has only gotten more heated. KXAN's Sam Stark breaks down the growing controversy on what to do with San Marcos's Capes Dam.
This is Capes Dam, a place the city of San Marcos doesn't know yet what to do with. This dam replaced an early dam that it was built in 1850, but this was in particular was built in 1867.
Jesus Nahar from Preservation, Texas said the structure was originally used as a mill and is one of Hays County's oldest. He said an effort to have it designated as a historical place in the 1980s failed because the landowner didn't sign off on it.
So now, with some of that being a little more clear, that can be pursued again and secure that designation, which could really help protect the site.
But not all think it is worth protecting. In November of 2024, a 17-year-old boy drowned while swimming at the dam. Some San Marcos River advocates have voiced their concerns about the dam's safety for years.
Removal of KXAN is the fastest, safest, and most environmentally friendly thing that they could do at this time.
The dam diverts water into this area, called Mill Race, a space groups use for kayaking.
The dam should be removed is because the Mill Race is diverting water away from the main channel in the San Marcos River. That is especially important in times of drought.
It's the Mill Race's water others are fighting for in keeping the dam.
I mean, essentially there's 3 times the amount of water because of the dam.
Ben Quanley is a former Olympic canoeist and now takes paraplegics kayaking in the Mill Race. He also hopes the city decides to keep and preserve the dam.
You're not on different sides at the end of the day. What we need to clarify, what we are going to do in terms of the plan.
Sam Stark, KXAN News.
And the city hopes to clarify a plan soon. It issued a request for proposals last month to do more research on the dam and set aside nearly $700,000 to get that done.
And going in depth now, back in October, some officials said the water level in the river was, quote, concerning after readings pointed to a nearly 50% drop in the river's average flow. There are some growing concerns for the wildlife in the river, as the river and Spring Lake, which it flows out of, are home to a number of endangered and threatened species. Now, like the San Marcos blind salamander and Texas wild rice, both of which only live in the river.
Well, volunteers were out around Lady Bird Lake today cleaning up the trash that's visible right now because of unusually low water level. The Trail Conservancy and its volunteers took advantage of a mechanical mishap that ended up dropping the lake level. The Conservancy saw it as a chance to handle some cleanup that normally would not be possible. The group's interim CEO says they have a wealth of volunteers right now, all of whom care about Austin's trails.
The wait list was actually even full at the end of yesterday, so we opened it up to more folks. So it's people from all over that use the trail and love the trail that are out here to help us make it clean.
And if you missed your chance to help, the Trail Conservancy says it's planning another cleanup for Saturday. Las Vegas-based MGM Resorts will pay out $45 million after agreeing to a settlement over 2 data breaches. Attorneys for the plaintiffs alleged hackers broke into MGM's operating systems not once but twice in 2019 and then in 2023. The first incident saw the theft of info like passport numbers and customer addresses. And then the 2023 incident, that was a ransomware attack against the resort company. You might remember it knocked out some popular casinos. The plaintiffs plaintiffs, I should say, around 37 million people might have been affected.
Here's a look now at your evening lineup. At 7 o'clock, it's Law and Order, followed by Law and Order SVU at 8 and Found at 9. And then join us back here at 10 o'clock for KXAN News. And this Sunday, KXAN will be broadcasting Governor Abbott's State of the State address. And he says he'll be covering, quote, emergency items. He wants state lawmakers to focus on this session. His address starts at 5 p.m. and you can watch that right here on KXAN or KXAN.com.